Welcome to the Adopt Well podcast, hosted by two adoptive moms. I'm Macy Peralt.
And I'm Amy Bagwell. Together we'll discuss helpful topics for anyone touched by adoption.
Today, we're talking with our good friend, Hannah Eloge. Hannah is a wife and adoptive mom to two seriously cute twin girls, Olive and Ezra, and she's the founder of Kindred Co. In addition to offering incredible adoption profile book services, Kindred Co. is a brave adoption community that lifts up all sides of the adoption triad. Kindred's avenue to education is through storytelling. They share stories that show both the beauty and the brokenness that comes with adoption. It's truly amazing. We couldn't be more honored to sit down with Hannah for a few minutes to chat.
Well, Hannah, we're so glad that you're here with us. I feel like we talk frequently, whether through text or Instagram, but now we're actually all three on the mic together. So, welcome.
Thank you so much. I love your guys' podcast voices.
Oh, wow. We're so professional.
They really are.
For having me. It's I'm so blown away by what you guys have created, and you've had so many amazing guests, and I'm really honored to be on with you guys today. So thank you.
Oh, are you kidding me? It's our honor. We actually, I don't know if you remember, we came up with this podcast idea May of last year because Macy and I actually came to the first Kindred retreat in Chicago. For those of you who don't know, it was amazing. So we all three got to meet each other in person, and we put together an outline. We were going to do a podcast, and then life has happened, and here we are almost a year later. But I'm still glad that we're pulling it off. So like I said, I know we've all had the chance to meet, but Hannah, I would love for you just to share a little bit of who you are, what your family's like. Tell us a little of who Hannah Eloge is. Also, side note, until today, we did not know her last name was Eloge. Macy and I were pronouncing it incorrectly. So there you go.
Shock of the century.
I'm married to an amazing guy named Josh, but he gave me a terrible last name. Macy and Amy were like, Hannah, you need to do an Instagram story educating people on how to pronounce your last name. So yes, it's Eloge. Just drop that G and E. Anyways, yeah, Josh is a psychiatry resident here in Chicago. We've been here for a while since college. I grew up in Tucson. I'm still not used to these terrible winters here that I'm still surviving. Josh was actually in the throes of medical school when we started our adoption, which was so crazy. And you would think that the most messages I get on Instagram would be about adoption. Nope. They are all about, is Josh as happy as he seems? I have an amazing husband that he's one of those people that just everyone likes. He's such a good dad, always so happy. I'm really, really blessed to do life with him. We have twin girls, Ezra and Olive. They make us laugh daily. They're going to be 4 next month, which is literally mind-blowing.
That is crazy.
At this stage, let's see. 4 years ago, we had no clue that we were just about to be matched, and we would have 10 days to get ready for twins and raise a ton of money and make plans to get to another state. And Josh was taking this huge test for med school that week, and our life changed in an instant. I jumped into domestic adoption pretty blind. I always knew I wanted to adopt. Josh and I always thought we'd grow our family that way, but we always thought we'd go the international route. At the time, I was a marketing director for a nonprofit organization, and I was traveling to Africa and Guatemala and Swaziland and all over the world. And we just kind of thought we would adopt internationally. But at that time, a lot was happening international adoption. And Josh was actually the one to say, hey, I think we should consider domestic adoption. And I was kind of like, what? I know literally nothing about domestic adoption. I didn't have relationships with adoptees. I didn't know what birth moms were like. I knew nothing. And so naturally I started researching and kind of give you the quick version of how Kindred came to be. When I started our adoption process, I was desperate to hear from birth moms, transracial adoptees, and those voices were so hard to find. This was before Instagram Live and Facebook Live and all these tools that are raising up these voices now, but I couldn't find them. So I think my marketing brain was in high alert while I was going through our domestic adoption process. And this first gap I saw was this need for community. I wanted to meet other hopeful adoptive moms. I wanted to learn from adoptees. I wanted to hear what a birth mom was going through. And I couldn't find one place to go to that was sharing that global collective narrative. As we continued, our agency said, you can make a profile book or we can make one for you. And I didn't even know the profile book was part of the process, let alone a very important part of the process. And because I had this background in marketing design, I was just like, oh, that sounds fun. I'll make mine. So I'd work all day, I'd come home, I'd work till 3 a.m. on my book, and I was sharing online what I was doing. I got inundated with, how'd you do that? Where'd you print it? Could you help me with mine? And totally caught me off guard. So I started researching, is anyone helping people make this really important book? And then I started thinking, like, I feel so bad for the couple or the single mama that's trying to do this thing and they don't have the tools to do it. Or they have full-time jobs or they're parenting and it's this stressful task to do. And it's a really important part. And so to not have the tools to do it or the time to do it, how frustrating that must be. Moving along, we got matched with an agency in Utah, and we honestly saw all the ugly sides of adoption that you hear about. We saw coercion and over expensive fees that we never got answers to where they were going, and thing after thing. And we didn't have the time to weed through all of our questions. And so I came home pretty brokenhearted, seeing what I had saw and not feeling prepared for what I saw because no one was talking about it. And so the day I came home with my twins, I started Kindred to kind of combat these three, to build community, to help people with their profile books, and to help people do it much differently than what I just did.
Wow. I love that you saw things and you were unsettled with them and you didn't just let it go. You were like, you know what? This isn't okay. I need to try to do something about this, because everybody can do something, you know? Yeah. But anyway, so obviously a big part of Kindred is the creation of the adoption profiles, but I know what you offer is so much more than just the end product of getting a profile book into a hopeful adoptive couple or parents' hands. So what does the process look like when you're working with hopeful adoptive families? What can they expect?
Yeah, of course. This is going to get into the boring nitty gritty, but you might want to know. So I'll tell you all about it. So our process is a process, and we're coming alongside hopeful adoptive families to do this overwhelming task of creating their profile book. And so it's very simple. As soon as they fill out the form on our website and say that they're interested and wanted to learn more, we jump on a call together. My first step is always to talk to everyone that's interested in a Kindred profile. I love to get to know my families, my single mamas. My clients' relationship is so important to me. And so I want to talk to you. I want to get to know you. I want to know your story. I want to share a little bit about mine and the process and make sure we're on the same page. As soon as someone says, Hannah, I'm in, I want to do this with you, we send over a client portal to you that has literally everything you need to work on your book in one place. So you'll start with your questionnaire. It's about 20 questions. I have you answer as in-depthly as you can. The more stories and examples you can give, the stronger the copy for your book will be. As soon as you hit submit on that, it goes to our copywriter, and our copywriter writes all the copy for your book. Now, this is not to like twist your words and make a narrative that is not there. This, for me, I'm such a talker. And it was really hard for me to find the words to put in my profile book and to have them spelled right, which is another very hard task for me. And so our copywriter has been with us from the beginning. She's taking your questionnaire, she's putting it into the sections that we need, that we know makes a great profile book. She's watching word count. She's watching what themes are coming out of the questionnaire that are true to you. It's really overwhelming to know which part of your huge life you should put in this book. And sometimes I think we have to put everything in the book, when really we just need to pull out the themes that are most important for this process. So she has a really great eye of bringing those themes out of what you're already sharing with us and condensing it for you. And then we pitch it back to our clients and say, hey, does this feel like you? Make any changes and suggestions. Like this is for you. So you'll make edits to the copy. When you're done with your questionnaire, as well as when you'll get an email that introduces you to Ashley Mitchell. She's the birth mom on our team. She placed her son about 13 years ago. She runs Lifetime Healing. She's worked with hundreds of birth moms all around the US, and she is so good at what she does. And I'm so glad our clients get to talk to her. So you'll get an email, you'll sign up for a time to chat with her. It's about an hour-long phone call, and she just goes through how to meet an expectant mom where she's at, how to understand what an expectant mom's going through, answers your question on open adoption or birth moms, and then she coaches you on how to write this very intimidating hello letter to the expectant mom. And then we do a page at the end called Before You Go. I kind of named that my last page when I did my book, and it's kind of become a staple in Kindred books, but it's called Before You Go, I Want You to Know. And that last page is really to say, hey, if you should choose us, this is what we can commit to you and your child. And it really outlines your values and what you care about. So you'll work on with Ashley offline on your letters. She'll give feedback on them. And then when they're done, she'll send them over to me. We have a part in the client portal where you can see what kind of photos we're looking for to upload to your folders as well. We want casual photos that tell a story, and then we also want professional photos that we get a really great cover photo. A lot of people don't have that professional photo for the cover. We want to see your faces up close, and that first impression is really important. So once all those main 3 things are done, your letters are written with Ashley, your copy's been approved, and all your photos have been uploaded, we move to design. Once we get to that point, I promise it goes so fast. We try to get you a design draft within 2 weeks. And we go back and forth. This is your book. You tell us, swap out this picture, change that color. And then once you say it's good to go, we go to print. I print all the books for you, ship them where they need to go. We're always here for you through the whole process. It's a partnership. We are working hand in hand. So it's a really fun process. It's really hands-on, and we are creating something specifically for you. 90% of who works with us are doing our full custom book, and that's kind of the process I just went through. We also have a template option if you're wanting something really quick or you're comfortable with your own writing skills. We have 2 pre-made templates that you provide, copy the photos, and we put it into the template for you, and you get a profile book in a week. So that's a really great option. And then we also do some profile book reviews where me and Ashley will go through a pre-created profile book and give some feedback on it.
Wow, that's so helpful. I have a couple of questions based off of what you said. So let's say there are people listening who don't have the opportunity to work with you, and they're thinking, oh my gosh, like I have to write this whole thing. I wish I could have a copywriter. Tell me what you would suggest here, but maybe they could find some family and friends or someone they know who is like an English teacher or something that could just help them make sure like they don't have any grammatical errors, help them word things to get their point across. What do you think about that?
Sure. That's exactly what my clients that do pick the template option where they are in charge of writing their copy, that's exactly what I tell them. I kind of give them sections to work on, length, and then find a family friend or someone that does love writing and ask them to help you craft your story and check it for grammar. You'd be surprised how many profile books I do that just like don't have periods and have weird spacing. And like a lot of that is really important. It's how it's a first impression, and we want it to be really easy to read. So I think that part's important and shouldn't be left out.
Yeah, I agree. Now, also for people who are listening and thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can afford to get professional pictures done, I would say, and give me your thoughts because you're the pro on this, but I would say it would be better to try to get as good of pictures as you can that are current than to use really old professional pictures that you had, right?
100%. And I'll touch on this later in the conversation, but we want to expectant moms want to see what your life is like now. They do not care what your life was like 10 years ago. So having current photos is really important. And grab a friend that has an iPhone. iPhones take great photos now. So it's just really important to have that crisp, clean, just cover for the photo. And then the rest need to tell a story, and they can be casual.
Yeah, definitely. Now, as far as the hello letter that you mentioned, are you planning to talk about that later, or can I ask you a question about it now?
Ask me about it now.
Okay, perfect. So a lot of people have probably seen that some agencies have people write a Dear Birth Mother letter. Can you touch on why you write a hello letter and not a Dear Birth Mother letter?
Yes. Great question. I love this question. I don't know how to say this without sounding funny, but like learning this difference was like the gateway into education for me. When I first learned that a birth mom is actually not a birth mom until she signs papers, my mind was blown, and I was like, what else am I missing here?
Same.
And it really, once you learn that concept, which is an expectant, someone is carrying a baby. A woman's carrying a baby. That is her baby. She is considering adoption as one of her options. Ashley talks a lot about this, but this woman has to choose adoption twice. She chooses you possibly to come into this with her while she's pregnant, but she has to choose you again when she's delivering and has to put pen to paper and sign over termination rights. So This woman is an expectant mom. She's an expectant mom carrying her child, considering adoption. And I'll touch on this later, but our language is really important. And so we don't so many agencies still tell you to write a dear birth mom letter. And who we are writing to is not a birth mom. They are not a birth mom until they sign papers. And so that language difference is really important and is really the foundation of respect and, I don't know, this starting place of this relationship that we make sure to have in Kindred books.
Absolutely. And you don't know what you don't know, but adoption professionals do know. And so that can definitely be coercive if an agency is treating women like they're already birth mothers before they even are.
For sure.
But anyway,
No
cool.
excuses anymore.
Hannah, listen, I just hearing you talk, I love how much intentionality you're putting into these. This is not just like a plug and play situation, which is amazing to hear your heart for it. And I so clearly remember, like when we had our profile made, I wanted it to be so perfect because it was like our first impression. Our future kid's mom is reading this. I mean, it's like beyond pressure of a first date. You know what I mean? But like now looking back at it, I would do so many things differently. One of them being like not even making it look so perfect or not making our lives look so perfect because they're really not. But I know you've already covered some of this, but are there any big like, yes, you need to include or like, yeah, that's kind of a no-no. You don't really want to include that or I don't know. Give us some pointers.
Sure. I laugh looking back on my profile book as well. I had some really artsy photos that like didn't really serve a purpose other than, to me, I was so into photography at the time. So I thought I was showing like, this is a big part of me. But really they didn't serve a purpose and they didn't teach the reader anything. Basic pages that you want to have in your book are just, you want to have your hello letter to expectant mom, your story, why you're adopting, make sure to introduce yourselves. If you have children, make sure to introduce them. As I touched on before, we always like to wrap up the book with these commitments that you can make to that mom and child. So if you're just asking like, what should I have in my book? Those are some simple starting places. But something really important to remember is that everything you put in this book should have meaning. Everything you put in this book should teach the reader something new about you. We tend to like, a lot of people want to make sure every family member gets on the family member page so no one's offended. That's not the point of this book. I would much rather see what your family does on Christmas morning or travels you've done together that tell a story rather than making sure that there's a professional photo of everyone smiling at the camera and everyone gets in the book. So we should, and another thing I see that we sometimes miss is we get so caught up in telling them about what we do and what we like to do for fun and kind of these surface level things that we forget to answer this really big why question. This is the biggest mistake I see in profile books. On every page, you should be asking yourself, why? Why are you adopting? Why do you love to parent? Why do you want to become a parent if you don't already have kids? What will life look like for this baby after placement in your home? What role do you want the birth mom, expectant mom to play in your family? Will there be visits, letters? What are your views on education? What kind of faith do you have? And will that be instilled in your children? What are your other values? Like, I think sometimes we forget that the expectant mom is looking for some really big answers to really big questions, and we need to make sure we're putting those out there. Yes, it's great to say what you do for a living and I don't know what you love to do on holiday or vacations, but I think we sometimes miss answering the big questions. So yeah, make sure you use photos that tell a story. Take time to do soul searching and figure out what the 3 most important values to you are as a family, and make sure those come through in your book.
Yeah, that's all so helpful. So on that same note, what would you say are some big no-nos?
So we talked about this earlier for a split second, but language is so important. And it's a huge reason why we have Ashley from Lifetime Healing and Big Tough Girl on our team. But just acknowledging that she is an expectant mom considering adoption, that you are entering into this story with her. She's inviting you into it. This is not your baby yet. That can be really coercive, and it's really important to make this book for her and not for you. This is not a coffee table book for your living room. This is your opportunity to share your heart with this woman or this birth parents. And I know this is really simple, but something I've noticed that a lot of other profile book companies do or don't do is I love when my clients write in first person, especially for the Meet Hannah, Meet Josh page. I want you to talk from your heart to this woman. Especially if you're already a mother, how amazing it is to like say, as a mom, this is what I know. And this is why I love being a mom. I think sometimes when we write, and like if I'm writing about Josh, it's hard to get across your heart because you're not speaking directly to who's ever reading the book. And
Yeah.
so I really like Meet His pages where you are speaking from your heart to the reader in first person. And I think that gets missed sometimes. We do a little pull-out quote about like what Hannah says about Josh and what Josh says about Hannah. I think that's still important to see. It's sometimes easier to talk about yourself when someone else is saying it. So don't get me wrong, there's a place for that. But I really like to talk in first person to the reader. And then again, I touched on this before, a big no-no is going back too far. We don't need a ton of photos of your wedding. All the photos in the book should really be from the last year to two. Everything should be really current in what life is looking like at this moment. I think this is the foundation of a start of a relationship potentially. And this is could be your only opportunity to meet this expectant mom where she's at and share who you are. The biggest mistake you can make in your book is not being yourself. And I know that sounds cliche, but so many of my clients come to me in tears because their agency told them, prepare for a long wait. Because you're a single mom, you're never going to get chosen. Not never, but it's going to be a long wait. Prepare to wait. Or you already have a big family. Prepare for the long wait. Or you already have kids. Prepare for the long wait. And this literally crushes me. I have had so many clients, whether they're single mamas or couples with lots of kids or couples with one kid who's already adopted, that when they highlight their difference, it's what they get, like, that's why someone chooses them. And so I think when we tell people prepare for the long wait, you're not going to get chosen because of X, Y, or Z, we're telling them you're not good enough. Like what you have is not connect with someone. And I think that's such a lie. And like I've seen my clients get chosen quickly, no matter if they have a big family or not, or they're single or not. And so every expectant mom is looking for something so different. I'm on the board of On Your Feet Foundation. I've got to hear the testimony of so many birth moms, and why they choose a family is such a huge spectrum, because they were wearing a blue shirt, because they lived in the same state, because they didn't live in the same state, because they have a ton of kids, because they only had one kid, because they haven't had kids yet. Like you do not know what someone is looking for. And so the best thing you can do is to totally be yourself. Put it all out there. The no's are so hard. But when you feel confident in your book, at least you know you're putting it all out there, so that when those no's come, you can just know it's not the right match. It's not the right story for you. But if you hate your book and don't feel like you're connected to it, that it doesn't represent you, those no's become even harder because you're beating yourself up. You're beating the book up. You feel like you didn't put everything out there that you wanted to. And so honestly, I feel like agencies play down the importance of this book because they don't want you to stress about it. But the reality is this is your one chance to communicate who you are to an expectant mom who's considering adoption. And you might get a chance later to talk to her on the phone. That's what happened to us, which was wonderful. But this is first impression, and it really lays the foundation of what's to come for you guys.
And you know what else? I don't know if your girls are this way at all, but our daughter, she keeps the book in her room. Like I didn't intentionally do that. I like showed it to her one time. And ever since then, she just has loved it. And she like keeps it on her little dresser, and she'll just flip through it sometimes. Like, that's my mommy, that's my daddy, that's Hank. You know, she doesn't fully understand. I've explained to her what it is, but I have a feeling like we're going to have this thing around for years and years and years and years and years and years.
That's so funny. My girls have theirs on their dresser too, and they love looking at it. And I always print extras, like print extras. Mom that chooses you, print some for your child to have when they're older, and some to wreck now while they're flipping through it. Like extras now, you won't regret it.
That is so true. Okay, so Hannah, obviously we know this is important after all this discussion for hopeful adoptive families to have a well thought through profile book, but just from your heart and all that you've seen, the stories that you've heard, I would love to know, like, what is your big personal why that you feel it's important for these families to have such a well thought through and beautiful book?
Yeah, I don't tell this to my clients, but this is really a sneaky education tool, to be honest. For me, I learned so much more from people in the triad sharing their stories than I ever did through the home study process. And maybe that was just my experience, but this profile book is a tool for connection, and for me to walk with hopeful adoptive families, for Ashley to be involved and bring in education. It's really an education tool, which to me is so exciting, because I have had so many clients that like didn't want to open adoption or were so scared of what they were entering into. And it's through the education that comes with this profile books, from conversations with me, conversations with Ashley, that they really feel prepared for what they're about to enter into. The best messages I get, and I get them all the time, which is so humbling, are the ones that say, Hannah, I have an open adoption that I never thought I would have because of Kindred and our experience with the profile books and our talk with Ashley. Or that say, I have a healthy relationship with our child's birth mom that we were never expecting to have because of what I've learned here. And that is my why. Like, it is about understanding who's involved in this and how we sacredly walk with them through this. And I know disrupted adoptions are so hard, but when we learn that this baby is not ours until papers are signed, it really changes our view of what we're entering into. So that's my heart is to walk with hopeful adoptive families through this, no matter which direction their adoption takes them.
I love it. Oh, ditto. But I really do. I really, really do. Okay. Well, obviously you love all members of the triad, and it's so beautiful seeing it, whether it's through your profile books and the education there, on the blog, on social media. But I know you just hosted a retreat with so many members represented, and it looked amazing, obviously, because it was sunny. But do you have more planned? Like, how has that gone? I want to know the other side of Kindred. What's coming up next?
Yeah, this is a really exciting new arm of Kindred. We've only done 2 retreats so far. Our first one was for adopted mamas here in Chicago. Our second, which you guys got to attend. And then our second one was for the whole triad in Palm Springs. And to be really honest, I was so nervous how that was going to go. But the women that showed up amazed me, and we had such hard, wonderful conversation, and we had dinner together every night, and it just blew my mind. And in that moment, it reminded me how important it is to have these conversations in person. It's really hard to mix social media with a tough topic like adoption. I shared a post recently that said, people are really hard to love when you get close up, hard to hate when you get close up. Something like that. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think I reshared it actually. Yes, it was so good.
And it's so true. Like, especially these triad conversations are hard. What one person's saying can be really triggering to the other side. And there's a lot of hurt involved. And we make a lot of assumptions about each other that may be untrue. And so my goal is to create safe spaces where we can come together and share our story and really understand where someone else is coming from. I've shared this before, but the Kindred logo is this little triangle with a line through it, and it's the glyph for transformation. I fully believe that when we sit and listen to someone else in the triad, we ourselves are transformed. And that happens through conversation and meeting each other where we're at and giving grace to one another. And so we are not giving up on retreats. We have people interested in leading an adoptee one. We want to do another triad one. And I don't know where they're going to go and grow, but we are committed to them. Our next, and if you follow along on our Instagram and everything, we will keep you updated on when the next retreat will be. We're pushing the retreats back a little bit because right now we need to shift our focus to our first conference, which is so exciting. I don't even know if I should call it a conference because, again, the spirit of Kindred is relationships and connection, and it's not going to be your typical conference. It's happening next September in Chicago. Fall. We haven't released tickets yet, so be following along and get all those updates. But it's going to be a Wednesday evening through a Friday morning. And what we're planning on doing is bringing in these special Kindred dinners that we do at the retreat for that kickoff night. And it's going to be Chicago, gather around the table, wonderful food, and do table questions and really get to know other women in the triad. And then we'll have speakers throughout the day, and we just have some really fun things planned, but we would love to have you there because, again, we think it's really important to be with each other in person. So we're really excited.
Listen, I am there.
I gotta tell Charlie, we have a new budget we're gonna start tonight. It's called Chicago.
Adoption events, the adoption events pod.
Yeah, my piggy bank, if you will.
It's called continuing education.
Right. He's in school for his master's. This is my master's, Okay. We just worked that out. Great. We'll be there.
Yeah, for sure. And if you guys are listening, you should definitely make plans to attend one of them. Also, because we want to meet you guys. I want to be friends in real life. So,
Same.
Hannah, will you share really quickly where we can connect with you online, which we will also link in the show notes?
Yes, please come say hi, slide into my DMs, introduce yourself. I want to know who's joining us and who's come from the podcast. So our website is kindred.co, not .com. And we're on Facebook too, Kindred and Community. And of course, we do most of our things through Instagram, kindred and .co, just like our website as well. So come say hi, come join us.
Well, we'll definitely link those in the show notes so you guys can just click right there. But Hannah, I'm not just saying this to flatter you, but one of the things that I've really always... Wait, what?
Go on.
Oh. I thought you said you're wrong. But no, okay, I'm really going to... Let me just flatter you for a second. But I really do feel like you're very brave because you've pioneered so many things, and it really takes bravery to be a good pioneer. So I just want to thank you for all you've done for the community, and that I've noticed it, and I'm sure lots of other people have noticed it, but I'm really thankful for the way that you've brought the triad together, and I know others would probably tell you the same thing. But also thankful that you spent time with us today, and we're going to wrap it up. But everyone listening, remember that if you want more info about Kindred Co., the retreats, whatever, you can check out the show notes, and while you're there, we would love it if you wanted to leave us a review before you go.